Imagine losing 20 years of your life in jail because someone lied and framed you for a crime you did not commit. While some people lose hope and strength to fight and give in to their fates, there are some who fight for what's right, but by the time the truth comes out, they lose several years of their lives, reputation, and in many cases, families too. One such example is Vishnu Tiwari. Vishnu was accused of rape by a woman 20 years ago. A couple of weeks ago, it was proved in the court that he was wrongfully prosecuted and was acquitted of his crimes. But is that enough? Is acquittal and an apology enough in such cases? It's certainly not, and even the Supreme Court of India recognized this issue. The Supreme Court has asked the government to respond on whether it will frame guidelines to compensate victims of wrongful prosecution and ensure strict action against fake complainants in criminal cases. The case, which will be heard next on April 26, comes in the backdrop of the case of Vishnu Tiwari. Vishnu is not alone. Over the past few years, there has been a gradual increase in the rate of wrongful convictions in the country. Today, more innocent people are in prisons than ever before. Data shows that 70% or of the total population of prisoners in India are under trial. National Crime Record Bureau data shows that national conviction rate of IPC offences is just 45%. In other words, of 3 lakh people, 55%, that is 1,65,000, are in jail while their trial is still undergoing. Of that, more than 1 lakh are expected to be innocent or maybe let go for the lack of evidence. Sometimes they end up spending more time in jail than the maximum sentence for the crime they are accused of. A further 25% of them will get off on appeal, but by then they would have spent years behind bars, deprived of their liberty and human rights, their future stigmatized due to imprisonment. Wrongful prosecution is defined as a miscarriage of justice where procedural misconducts resulted in wrongful prosecution of an innocent person who was ultimately acquitted. Compared to wrongful conviction or wrongful incarceration, wrongful prosecution covers all such cases regardless of whether the person spent time in prison or not. Now, if you're thinking, why does anyone end up in jail if they haven't done anything wrong? The answer is nothing short of an indictment of our entire criminal justice system. Be it the incompetence of the police, failure and lack of due diligence on the part of our lower courts, and complete lack of concern or sympathy of the policy makers. Secondly, there are laws related to dowry deaths, suicide, rape, domestic violence, sedition and terrorism where the so-called accused can be arrested straight away without the need of any evidence. In the Akshardham temple blast case of 2002, 6 accused were convicted by the trial court and high court. 3 of them were sentenced to death and the other 3 were given imprisonment ranging from 10 years to life. In May 2014, all 6 were acquitted by the Supreme Court, but then their lives had been destroyed as they had spent the intervening 10 years in jail. There are hundreds of such cases every year. Should the state not compensate them for the miscarriage of justice, even though they cannot give back the years lost? The Law Commission of India's 2018 report on legal remedies for wrongful prosecution says that the state needs to compensate a victim of wrongful prosecution. They should be compensated for the years lost, for stigma, and mental, emotional and physical harassment and the expenses incurred. In the plea filed by advocate and BJP leader Ashwini Kumar Upadhyay, he said that the centre cannot shy away from its obligation to safeguard and protect the right to life, liberty and dignity to every citizen. It is the need of the hour to have specific guidelines for the state and its agencies to prevent such police and misconduct which is rampantly destroying lives of innocents. The need for such guidelines has long been pending in this country to maintain uniformity, and it's high time laws are put in place to compensate the victims of wrongful arrests, convictions and punish the perpetrators.